Today we're driving the VW ID Buzz and solve two very important questions. First of all, this one here is an electric 6 or 7-seater. Is it a good and usable 7-seater EV which is suitable for the family because there are not so many of them out there yet? And is it also a worthy electric replacement of Volkswagen T7 Multivan, for example, this microbus here? In this long wheelbase version, it will also be standard for the American market, so we'll also dig into that. And for example, my brother at the moment has 3 kids and he's driving a Multivan. Could this be his next vehicle? I will also tell him, so best greetings to my brother. So we're going to find out everything about that here with the microbus. Then you can see here the headlamps, see here this daytime running light, also the turning indicators. You also have this function that it automatically closes or opens when you approach or leave the vehicle. Optional IQ.Light, the ones you can see here, this is the Matrix LED. In this case in a yellow-white trim, you can go for a unicolor style, but you can also go for this cross-color styling. 19, 20, 21 inch wheels, these here in the middle, 20 inch, and the length is, with the long wheelbase version, 4.96 m or 195 inches. That is actually 25 centimeters or 10 inches longer than the short wheelbase version, and it's really that the length is the wheelbase that is longer. It's like the increase in wheelbase is identical with the increase in overall length, and the difference is not the overhang here. This door here, this door is 19 centimeters longer than with the short wheelbase version, so we have more space on the interior. Soon more about that. DCC, the dynamic chassis control, which is offered for the ID.4 or the ID.5, is not available with the ID Buzz, so you cannot get an adaptive suspension, but we'll talk about the comfort very soon. Towards the rear, 160 kilometers an hour, like 100 miles per hour is, by the way, the top speed. And today we'll drive German Autobahn because we're in Germany here today. And then we also, I can promise to you, hit the top speed for this very vehicle and see how it performs there. So let me get out the key. You can also flash the lights here in the rear for you and see that the turning indicators in the rear are pretty tiny, but they are still very well visible. And overall, it has this very iconic design. That's why people love the microbus. And I think design-wise, it indeed works. I would have wished for the round headlamps in the front though, but you at least get these retro logos, which are very large. And here, by the way, the rear light really runs through the whole width. It's always hard to show on camera because at some point it turns off again when there's no one sitting in front of the vehicle, energy saving function, but here you can see it now. And just look at how far the front wheels can actually turn in. I can also show it to you the other side around like this. So this is actually pretty cool, right? And then just look at that, how narrow the turning circle is, and it's actually 11 meters for the short wheelbase version and 11.8 meters for the long wheelbase version. That is absolutely astonishing. Do we have some kind of frunk? Oh, ain't that cute? No, there's no frunk, but it's just funny how that front logo pops out. In this case, you can be saying like, hey, that's okay, you know, that there's no frunk here. Wiper fluid fill-in is right there because they have a very, very short overhang here. And then I think we can say it's okay. There's a rear-wheel drive version, it's this one here at the moment, and then there's an all-wheel drive version. On the Northern American market, it will just look the same. On the European market, the all-wheel drive version is the so-called GTX. That one looks actually exactly like this. Look at that, there. This is the GTX. Yeah, you can see like the red styling, some black accentuations, but we also have some close-up shots for you. So, but the GTX scheme is not carried over to the Northern American market. The acceleration figures here for the long wheelbase versions is under 8 seconds with the rear-wheel drive version and 6.5 seconds with the GTX or the all-wheel drive version, and the power output will be the same. The short wheelbase versions will be around like 0.3, 0.4 seconds quicker each. So then the short wheelbase all-wheel drive is just around 6 seconds in the acceleration figure, but the top speed is actually then the same. And very important, of course, with the battery sizes. So the short wheelbase version gets an upgrade to 79 kilowatt hours net now, and this one here, long wheelbase version, also standard for the US and so on, and Canada, will be at 86 kilowatt hours net, so a little bit more. Why? This is actually the maximum capacity they can put in. That's why also just a tiny difference. So they have like I think it was 12 modules in the short one, 13 here, and then in the long wheelbase one. And we'll see how much range we can score later on, also when like just driving 1 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour. This will also be, of course, very crucial. Recharging, the flap is actually on the other side. That's European thing. So here we go, right there at the back. And it's about 185 kilowatts or 200 kilowatt DC peak. Yeah, that's a big flap indeed. And then 10 to 80% state of charge in both cases for the small and the big battery in under 30 minutes. This is the key fob, the typical high gloss black. Okay, door closing sound is really nice. I like that. And by the way, recently I had some questions about that, like why would you even care how a door closing sound sounds like, you know? And I do care a lot about that, because when I drive a vehicle, I always have to enter the vehicle and then open the door, and mostly then of course from the inside I close the door. When you get out of the vehicle, you open the door, you close the door, and it always gives you a feeling of, do you drive a quality car or do you drive a piece of junk? Just like, not saying like, for example, Toyota and Lexus, they have sometimes really bad door closing sounds, but we all know they have the best reliability. So it's not like one-to-one, hey, this is like saying everything. But it's giving you something. When you have a good door closing sound, you leave or enter the vehicle with a good feeling. And that's why I think it's very important. What do you think? Then inside the door, here, this then a different yellow color. You don't have to pick yellow on the inside. There can be different color schemes. This is all hard pack though. Yeah, this is a hard pack plastic landscape indeed. Then inside you have this typical ID family, very small instrument panel. I like here this, you know, this fake wood atmosphere. It's actually really sophisticated, you know, even though it's not the real thing, it looks actually quite decent. Seats, once again, not needed in yellow, but you can go for it. It's of course a very interesting combination in here, and they're actually quite plush. Here, this front part you can also make a little bit longer then for longer legs. These are also the electric seats, easy to get inside, and with 189 6x2, yeah, there's plenty of space like everywhere to every single direction, and it's a very comfortable seating position. Steering wheel manual adjustment in and out, up and down. And at this moment you cannot order an animal-free steering wheel anymore. They are searching here at the moment for a new supplier. So I just recommend to them, look at BMW, Kia, Renault, Polestar, Volvo. They have suppliers for high quality animal-free steering wheels. Yeah, but they obviously moved away from the one now and searching the new one now. So if you're a supplier for animal-free steering wheels, maybe talk to VW Commercial Vehicles. Yeah, interesting. And then here, look at that. Seat also goes electric up and down. And yeah, the seats, like the rest of the interior, is all animal-free, by the way. So far, it's a very good first impression for driving. There's so much space here inside that you can even very well film a cockpit overview, and Leah can sit there in the rear, you know, just totally relaxed. So much space for filming. And look at that. Here we have a lot of space right here, also with this rubber ground. Leah will also soon show you all the other possibilities for space. Then here I have two more buttons to open the side doors, for example, or at the key fob, that's also possible. New upgrade since the long wheelbase release, now also for the short wheelbase, new 13-inch infotainment screen, so it's larger than before, and still with the sliders here, they are also illuminated. At least another possibility than just to click it in the screen. And the software has also been upgraded, so it works quicker than before. It won't be the fastest system on the planet, but most of the time it does the job now. And you have these fixed hotkeys here on the top, for example, to access the driving mode, although you have no DCC here anyway, so you won't change the suspension with that. But here, assist, and then you can, when the ignition is on, you can also here in assist deactivate the EU speed warning, you know, if that's relevant to you. And this is like the main menu. So I think we get along with that quite well. Interesting is that here, EV specific, we can now also not only set the charging limit here, we can also There we go, there. Start battery heating. So it does that automatically when you have a charging station set in the GPS, in the car internal GPS, but you can also start the battery heating yourself. For example, let's say you live close by a charging station with high voltage, and then say like, hey, I want to go there now, and then you just press start battery heating, and then maybe like 5 to 10 minutes later you are there, and then the battery is already preconditioned for the better quick charging. So it's also a good possibility, and always important with the EVs, of course. If we just want to go, let's say we go to Munich now from here, from Hanover, where we are at the moment, then let's say if there's any like prediction for the charging stops and so on. So because here 628 kilometers, this is actually too much, and then you can see here there's a charging shop, one suggested here with 300 kilowatt station in Bad Brückenau. Listen and repeat, Bad Brückenau, and then we're supposed to charge for 34 minutes there. Driver POV, here, as I said, like the capacitive buttons. Yeah, hashtag capacitive BS, so sometimes you press them unintentionally, sometimes they don't work when you press them. Not my favorite solution, at least they're backlit, that's quite cool. And in here, gear change, drive, reverse, and so on. Small digital instruments, and you can also get a head-up display. Oh, and look at that, this silhouette of the vehicle there in the mirror, that looks amazing, doesn't it? Wow. And then you can see like the small head-up display right there. Here, by the way, the windows control here, but just two. Then you press rear, and then you can also activate that rear window from the front. That's an interesting solution. I don't fancy just having two buttons though, because at some point maybe you click it and then you misclick something, and then you're not sure like what am I doing and which window am I controlling at this moment, so you can get confused there a little bit. Yeah. Why is it open now? Okay, and now that's exactly what I'm talking about. You're already more than beautiful. It's not needed.
Okay.
Now it's time. Now it's time for Leah's passenger princess part with all the storage inside the doors and in the cabin where you can store all the snacks for the hour-long drives and so on. So first of all, inside of the doors, top part here also with USB-C charging, and some rubber ground there at least. Bigger door pocket underneath, and then we have here the glove box, also slides down. It's like also dampened. Oh, and what's that?
Wait.
Oh, what's that? Ah,
wow.
Is that? Oh my God, a coin holder. This is 21st century.
And
and a parking card holder.
Wow.
Amazing. Yeah. But then we have more nice features. For example, here, the cup holders. They can be hidden or pushed down like this. Can you push it down all the way again? So. There, and then, yeah, there we go, okay. There we go. And then they're also adaptive, like on the top. There we go. So it's nice that you can just hide it or deploy it. And then we have this middle console, and they are very interesting here, these splitters, because the first splitter is also, for the cups. You can open the bottles then. And then the second splitter here, when it's getting really icy, that's also an ice scraper. So yeah, multi-functional. And this whole middle console there, this lower middle console, this box, when you press this button down, there we go, then you can lift up this whole thing. Wow, you're strong. Weightlifting, Leah. Wow. Actually, when it's like deployed like this, it looks like a trash bin, right? A little bit. Now comes the part which is really crucial for my brother, especially because of the kids. Sliding doors. You can get, of course, the other one on the other side as well. And then you have different possibilities. Here, this is a through bench for 3 seats in the second seating row. But you could also get a setup with 2, 2, 2. So you have then captain seats here in the second seating row, and the middle part is free, and the kids go just through or something like that. The seating comfort here is actually decent. You can also control here the back part of the seat, make it more upright and so on, and yeah, it's really nice and comfortable. And the cool thing is here, when you really fold it down, then you can also see that the lower bench moves according to that and goes down, so we have that folding flat effect. So yeah, it's, I think, a very good solution. The only thing is that you cannot remove the second seating row. Why exactly has a technological background and a trade-off decision? I will get into the in-depth explanation of that very, very soon. Isofix here at the outsides, 1 and 2, and there's actually none on the passenger seat in the front. However, we have 2 more Isofix seats on the third seating row, and how to access that one very soon here. This underneath the panoramic roof, there's a lot of headroom left here with 189/642. About this panoramic roof, by the way, this is really cool feature. So here we go. This is then this with this electrochrome function. There we go. You can turn it off and on. Vehicle switched on, yes, we know, but that's this very cool effect, isn't it? So, and we leave it open for a second to give you a little bit more light. So then here, it's a also good effect. Look at that. Up there, it's not only that I can slide it forward like this on this simple rail. So here we go. I can also use this top lever, and then the seat goes up and forward at the same time, and I can even slide it more forward. Some Easter egg here, by the way, all over the vehicle, different spots. So we have the silhouettes here, and then this is, wow, this is a premium access to the third seating row. This is cool, right? And even for me, it's super easy then to get in the back. When this row is back and the bench is backward, I can easily sit here as a tall adult. And I mean, there's even more space in the second seating row in front of it. So this is absolutely 7 adult proof, period. And at that length here is a great usage of space. These special head restraints here are, by the way, US or Northern American market spec, because they are very long. There's this regulation on the Northern American market that when they're all the way up, there should not be a gap seen from behind. I don't understand this regulation. Maybe one of you know why that regulation exists. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, but the European spec head restraints, they will be a little bit shorter, or they will look completely different, or probably just like this. This could also be. And with a small strap sideways, you can also adjust here the back part, the angle, more upright or more forward and so on. And even here in the third seating row, it's very nice to sit. It's not as plush from the bolstering, the so-called Einsitzhöhe, like the height of the seating pillow underneath is here a little bit firmer than in the front. Yeah, but definitely the usage of space here is excellent. Then 4 child seats here, second and third seating row. USB-C chargers even for the third seating row. So I would say this is kids of my brother proved. So yeah, this definitely works and would be something in comparison to a T7 Multivan. By the way, I also have a rear window which is electric here, side, second seating row, and I can control it here from the rear, but it's also even possible to control it there from the driver's side, from the front. Loading area, we have to say here, 1,340 liters to the second seating row, but I assure you all of the flexibility. First of all, at this moment here, I want to show you this setup here where we have all the clutter and so on, but really behind the third seating row, and this still works here even with the cabin trolley, so that's fine. And the width here is 1 meters 20 or 47 inches. That's really cool. And the height is about 1 meters and 10 or 43 inches. So now all empty. Then you have this board which you can put up, and it even has a gas strut here on the right side. That's interesting. And then you can get these here, for example. You can store a charging cable here or some other clutter here, like the emergency vest. You can also take these out here. And then it becomes even more obvious what else you can do with this vehicle. And this, yeah, this was really exciting now. So look at that. First of all, I can actually remove this whole board here like this. So I soon going to show you that, how we can do that. And then, but before, I want to show you this one here. When you fold down the seats, it's also nice how smoothly they go down like this here. So then you have an even area. That was the thought behind this. And you can also do this setup here, this bench, third seating row down, second seating row down, then all the way loading through up to the front seats. It's like 2 meters and 40, or let's see here, plus 16, and this is then Oh, it's like 80, 94 inches. Let me take out this whole stuff. So here, like this. And yeah, I'll probably get an expert for this because for different language versions and vertical and horizontal content, I'll probably do these 3 or 4 times today, and I did it last time as well. So I'm getting practice in this one. So here we go. And then I can take here the seat up here, and there are even some like sliders, rollers underneath. This is actually substantially heavy, so you have to think like you don't damage your lower lumbar area with that.
Oh, wow.
Interesting. Maybe I've pressed a key or something that opened the sliding door, or the vehicle saying like, hey, might someone help Thomas or something? Leah definitely has the easier part with filming now. So, and this is very important that you can remove the third seating row like this. Then I can also here fold down these here. So there we go. And there you can see this one goes into place like this. And you can also, of course, fold the other things behind it. This one here, the passenger seat, is a little bit more backward at the moment, so we have to move it forward first. Now the question is, why can I not remove the second seating row? And this is a very interesting explanation and has also to do with the differences to the VW Multivan. So the Multivan has no multi-link rear axle suspension. So that's not that sophisticated. This one here has a multi-link rear axle that builds a little bit higher. You have more comfort in driving with that. But then you can't put these rails, which also have current, through. So you can remove these here, but these here are just on normal rails. In the Multivan, there are rails which carry current, carry energy, and then you can connect the seats to that. You can slide them forward and backward, and you have seat heating. You also have this passenger seating control, which you need for the Euro NCAP test, that you know where, like when the seats are occupied actually. And this was then, with this building form, not possible here. So yeah, this is kind of like a trade-off, you know. You could have done the rails with current if you would have gone for another rear axle here in this case and lose comfort. That would be the one trade-off. Or on the other hand, you could have gone with seats which are not powered. You could not have seat heating here in the second seat row. You could not have the occupancy check. Then you would have lost some Euro NCAP points. So these are all the things to consider, but definitely I still agree that it would be better if you could also remove here the second seating row, because then you can make a passenger version, a cargo version, which is also available, just temporarily, and then move back to the passenger features back again. And towing, I will pull this one here. So usually you start with 1 ton in the towing for the rear-wheel drive versions, no matter which version you go for. Let's see. There we go. There's the towing hook. Semi-automatic, I would call it that way. And the all-wheel drive versions, they are upgraded to 1.8 or 1.6 tons. 1.8, so the highest towing capacity would be all-wheel drive, but short wheelbase because of the maximum allowed weight. Welcome to Thomas' driving lounge. This was 0 to 50 traffic light acceleration, because it's so funny, because when like a taxi or something is next to you and they see like, okay, that's like a bus, a microbus, and maybe not everyone knows it's electric or so on, and then you hit the floor on the pedal, and then you're gone. This is only here the rear-wheel drive version. As I said earlier, there will be all-wheel drive and also rear-wheel drive version available, both. And even though this is the rear-wheel drive only version, since these electric motors, they have the instant torque, and then it goes really quick, and it's actually a lot of fun. And of course, it's not like a performance car like, but it's really astonishing how quick such a large car can still accelerate, and how agile it actually feels. Maybe we can do it one more time here. Next traffic light. Let's go. Oh, a little bit of wheel spin. Plop, there we go. And everyone else is gone. It's like when you accelerate from traffic light with a motorcycle and look back. Wow. And I mean, you've seen we didn't achieve the best figure because there was some wheel spin at the rear axle indeed. That's very interesting, you know. So because the road is here slightly wet. Well, maybe not exactly wheel spin, but that the ESC system, you know, is or like the anti-slip system is working, that the tires don't spin through. Yeah, very interesting, definitely. And it feels astonishingly agile also when you go like left and right. Here, for example, stays relatively upright, although, as I said earlier, this one has not, you know, even the possibility to have DCC. So they do not offer the adaptive suspension here, but so far it's actually quite good. Of course, all the electric vehicles here on this MEB platform in the Volkswagen Corporation, they feel stiffer than their combustion counterparts, I feel. You feel it here, for example, when you are driving over some bumps. So they have a lot of weight on board, of course, because of the battery pack. Then they make the suspension stiffer, that it can cope with that and it doesn't shake up much and so on. And that's why all these vehicles rather feel kind of sporty. So indeed, this ID Buzz here, also in the long wheelbase, feels sporty, on the cost of that when you run over some potholes and so on, you also do feel that. So for that reason, I would like to have the DCC. And it is possible with the platform in general, ID4, ID5, they do offer that all. Here in the ID Buzz, they decided not to go for it for cost reasons, because it would add more cost, and then at some point people would probably say like, yeah, that gets too expensive. And I mean, it's not a cheap vehicle at all. If you wonder about short wheelbase or long wheelbase, like when you are driving, Leah is the additional GPS, like because we have always put the GPS to mute, and then was it? No, it's straight, right? Oh,
Okay.
is it? I'm not sure. It looked kind of. Am I right or am I wrong now? Nah, I think probably next time I put it back to Google Maps again, because like these internal GPS, they're always somehow misleading in a way. Yeah, but then we have to do some more U-turn and stuff and some more city driving, and then we go to the motorway. Sorry for that, missed the route. Because of course we want to have some motorway, some German Autobahn driving here with the ID Buzz as well. But it's actually good because I was just going to talk about short wheelbase versus long wheelbase, and driving even in the city just straight, you don't really feel that yet. The one thing where you would, I'm always talking and then like, why does it want to here?
You have to turn around.
Turn around is like interesting. Yeah. So the one thing is like here also when you're cornering in the city, you don't really feel that. Only when you're parking in and out, like a narrow parking garage or something, there you would actually feel that.
Here we can.
Yeah, I'll turn just around here and then we're gonna see about the U-turning thing. So this here, the rear-wheel drive on. Wow.
That's nice.
That's amazing. That feels like a small vehicle. Wow. I also feel it's relatively silent in here. Although we have a lot of room around us. You also see like how far. Hey guys, I can't even touch you guys because you're so far away from me. You're so far away from me. There's just so much space here. Very interesting. And since this one is not inflicting, by the way, the DCC, I can also just as well leave it on sport mode for the acceleration and stuff all the time. Yeah, I mean, driving dynamics is amazing for a vehicle with that long wheelbase indeed. So there, the electric platform definitely does help. It makes it all, yeah, dynamic, feels really planted on the road. Maybe the weight even helps in that case. So when we accelerate, when we're already at speeds from 70 kilometers an hour, let's go. Still get the punch initially. 120, 130. So definitely very decent, more than enough power. And here now at 120 kilometers an hour, 70 miles an hour, it's nice. It's good.
Yeah.
Good for traveling also long term from the seating comfort. Then you have this traveling feeling because of the space in front of you. Feels like you would be like traveling in a camper van. Just that this here is way more agile. It's quicker, and noise insulation is also good. And talked about that earlier in the interior part. Yeah, here we also have a multi-link rear axle, so this also gives us more comfort if we compare it, for example, to the T7 Multivan. This is another advantage because this here builds on this electric passenger car platform, and you also feel that it doesn't really feel much different. Then you have all the modern assistance systems here, for example. So here at the left side of the steering wheel, you can switch the mode, just the cruise control, speed limiter, or the travel assist. The travel assist then would give you the most sophisticated help, you know, than keeping the distance and also keeping the car in the lane. Here, by the way, you can see that the steering wheel is shaking. Looks like a fresh road, but it's you know, still wobbling. Yeah, kind of weird. Let's see if it's on the middle lane same way. So there we go. Yeah, it's also the same. I just wonder if it should be transported that way to the steering wheel, but yeah, maybe it's kind of weird. I haven't seen that. Okay, but here the travel assist. Let's see. We're being kept in the lane, relatively centralized, so that's good so far. Yeah, see the slight bend of the motorway. It's nice. The wipers, you see like how the wipers go like this. That's cool. Yeah, so here from the travel assist, also so far does a quite good job actually. Oh, and look at that now here, high speed, 165 kilometers an hour, top speed at this moment, and it's still very well to maneuver. Now the wind noise has been picking up, but it feels good actually, even at top speed. Let's see how much I have to reduce. That's like really cool to enjoy. 130. Maybe like this, like 120, 130 is very good. Everything above that you do feel from the wind noise though. Well, and some parking tests. This will be very interesting because it's a long wheelbase version and standard for the Northern American market. Here, when I want to have this parking slot, it's often a good trick to oversteer, like to fake that you would take the next spot and then go back again, and then go to the front again, because that way you can get to this parking slot straighter. It's a very good technique also for basement garage and so on. And I mean, it is a long vehicle, especially for European roads. And now let's see, we can get very far to the front, you know, because of that overhang. There we go. And then now, and see, I don't even overhang to the rear, and I'm standing quite good. So I could be maybe a little bit straighter, but that's actually very easy to do here with the ID Buzz. And because the steering is really light, at the same time precise, it doesn't have a dead zone area, parking is actually easy, and also dynamic driving is fun. And look at that, you know, how easy I can get out of the parking spot again. And you know, we were discussing earlier, when would you go, in Europe at least, for the short wheelbase version? That would be rather when you don't have the parking spot, or in like a parking garage where it's super, super narrow. And here, for example, you know, when you have these parallel parking spots, that was too easy. I don't want to show that to you.
This one maybe.
This one, yeah, that one should be good. The next one is forbidden as well, for whatever reason, I don't know. So let's see. So now is the parking school, Thomas's parking school. Parallel, yeah, I mean, like in the US, parallel parking is not that common. In Europe, especially in Germany, parallel parking is totally a thing, and everyone hates it, but sometimes you have to do that. Let's see if it does work. Oh, that gets narrow with the tire, but it could work actually. So I put the, I think, oh my God, this will be perfect. Yeah, see, that's just behind me is the grass. It's no problem. It's just some green stuff there. The automatic braking is being applied there, but I can go still. There we go. And then a little bit to the front. Hello? Even without like correcting some, wow. But I'm amazed myself. I mean, I do have a lot of practice. The reason for that is, so where I grew up, the place, there was like, you know, very narrow street, and you had to park on the side. And if it couldn't be worse, the street itself has a bend in itself. Catastrophic to park parallel in. And then, like each month, like 1st to 15th, parking on the one side, and 15th to 30th on the other side.
Welcome to Germany.
Absolutely horrible. But that actually made me, you know, a lot of practice here with parking in and out parallel. I just wish, I can't wish it for anyone, you know, to have this kind of parallel parking situation. But here, I mean, it's just limited by the length, and then it's actually totally fine. Look at that. Wow. I mean, also how I can easily get out of this parking lot again. This is really amazing. So I can just applaud them for that. So very easy to control. And I think especially this combination here, long wheelbase, which will be standard then for our guys in North America, and also maybe in other world markets, together with the rear wheel drive, you know, like most narrow or smallest turning circle, easiest to maneuver. You have enough power, we've shown it on the motorway, and you will have the best range result of that one. This is definitely here, the one we're driving is the version to go for. Some show off with supercars and burnouts and massive sound. If you have this vehicle, you show off with opening the sliding doors with the key, and like this, and also on the second side. This is always a cool feature, right? Especially when you, for example, slide this bench here all the way down and backward, like this and like this. Then you can basically walk through the car, you know, literally like a walk-through. Oh, lost the key and picked it up again. So now the answer to the big question, would I recommend this one here to my brother, and can he really move from his Multivan to the ID Buzz long wheelbase? I would say definitely yes. It has nice interior solutions. Besides that one thing that you cannot take out the second seating row, explain that, you know, like, yeah, it's still hard to, you know, in the explanation. But overall, I think it's very flexible inside. You have a lot of space. It's suitable for the kids. You can install enough child seats and so on. The range, of course, yeah, it's not the longest on the motorway. But then again, if I think about the last holiday trip my brother took, when you have so many kids, you have to do, you know, regular pause anyways. And then you can also combine it with a charging stop or something like that. And then again, especially when you have a country where the taxation is definitely in favor of the EVs. And for example, with Germany, we don't have incentive for buying EVs anymore, but the monthly taxation, for example, when you take it as a company car, and then the private use of that, you have to pay taxes on, then the EVs, of course, make sense. So this could be something to take into account when switching over to the all-electric one. And if you then think about like Netherlands, where we, by the way, also have a separate channel now for Autogefühl. You can also see it in the video description and the pinned comment below. Or maybe like, especially like the Scandinavian countries, then it makes even more sense. So does it get the stamp for my brother? Yes, definitely. So now our highway test, well, 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, just straight. We could score some 23 kilowatt hours and more kilometers. That's less than 3 miles per kilowatt hour. Means driving motorway at that speed, like 100, 110, something like that, it will run a little bit less than 400 kilometers or 250 miles. It will be better when you have more city traffic and so on. Then you'll go more towards 500 kilometers or 300 miles. But then once again, the speed has to be definitely lower. It won't be the most efficient on the motorway, that's it. But it has a better CD value than the VW Multivan, for example. Definitely the bigger battery in combination with the long wheelbase is the version to go for, because the extra price that we pay in Europe is just 2,000 euros, and you get more car and more battery for that. So definitely go for the long wheelbase version, unless you have a big problem with parking spots. You need to go in the basement garage, something like that, and it's maybe not handy enough. But the parking maneuvers, as you've just seen, are actually relatively easy comparing what length this car actually has. Yeah, and our friends in the North American market, they go with the long wheelbase version as standard anyways. Rear wheel drive or all wheel drive, I would just stick with the rear wheel drive version, save a little bit of the money there. Yeah, although like if rear wheel drive or all wheel drive, it doesn't influence the turning circle, at least. All wheel drive, of course, if the money doesn't play much of the role and you just need a little bit more performance then. Yeah, and the pricing, we have the base prices for the European market so far, and they are a little bit over 60,000 euros. With equipment, this will go up, of course. Yeah, so overall, this car, on the one hand, there are not so many 6 or 7-seater EV alternatives yet, and there are even more expensive ones. Then again, if you compare it to other more affordable EVs, it's already getting quite expensive. then it also depends on the leasing rates and so on. What do you think about the ID Buzz here in the long wheelbase version? Would you go for one? Tell me in the comments, and also tune in to more bus or multivan content here.